It depends on where you're at, right? If you're starting in elementary school, middle school, and high school. So I break those three things up because it's different. There's
Right.
levels to this, right? And then, so elementary is all about development, getting the right coaching, understanding the game, getting your skill work up, learning to shoot the proper way. I talk about, I actually have a book that's coming out that's covering these things. Um, it goes in line with the courses that we created. But on the elementary side, it's about falling in love with the game and understanding the skill work and what it takes to take it to the next level. Once you get to middle school, especially in Southern California, it might be different in other places, but basketball becomes serious. So now it's about where am I able to develop and move myself through the ranks to put myself in a position to play for a higher level club team? Or, am I just a regional player right now? Am I a national player?
You are listening to the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast, transforming athletes into leaders on and off the court with host Coach Furtado. Coaches, are you ready to take your passion for coaching and turn it into a full-time career? I know the challenges firsthand, but the Make Money Coaching Sports program helped me take BTG basketball full-time. If you're tired of juggling coaching part-time and want to fully focus on doing what you love, this business accelerator will give you the tools and support to make it happen. Hit the link in the show notes below to learn more and start living your dream. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. I'm thrilled to bring you a new guest, Todd Wilson. Todd is the founder of Core Prep, CEO of the basketball firm, and the host of the podcast, Elevate Your Game. Welcome to the show, Todd.
Man, thanks for having me. It's been exciting to get to this moment to be on the show. So excited to have this talk with you.
Absolutely. Likewise. And so diving right in, talking a little bit more about yourself and your journey and your story, kind of providing that foundation for the listeners to understand why Core Prep, why the basketball firm, why Elevate Your Game. How did the game of basketball make an impact on your life beyond the scoreboard?
It has been the one thing in my life that's been consistent, that's connected me to people. I think that's what's been most important is I found mentors from my coaches. I found some of my best friends. I found business opportunities. I found people to serve all through basketball. Just starting off when I was 11 years old, my best friend's brother showed me how to do an Allen Iverson crossover and how to shoot over a broom. And so I fell in love with the game from there. But the battles me and my best friend had on the court, that is the neighborhood court, we're still friends to this day. And building from there, just being able to play in rec leagues and getting my coaches who we turned our rec team into, or we had an all-star team from our rec league that turned into an AAU team, which took on a life of its own in my life. And then just throughout the years, just different people and different connections through the game.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what any sport can, but especially the sport of basketball can do for, an individual, and just presenting them opportunities to either make a livelihood, provide certain experiences that give you those life experiences that then help you make a livelihood beyond the game. And so with that, what was the transition like going from like being a player and then into kind of the professional working world through the game of basketball?
It was a journey. It was a journey. I never knew I was going to be a basketball developer. Like, I
Mhm.
always wanted to be in the NBA or play overseas. And so I officially probably hung it up. I had a G League tryout when I was past college. So I only played up to junior college. A lot of people don't know that. I played a year and a half of junior college, left the school, and was trying to find another situation where I can go and play, but didn't know how to network, didn't know how to get it to a tryout, didn't have anybody guiding me through that process. And I took things in my own hands. Tried to walk on at CSUN and at Cal State Northridge. Did not make the team, and I continued to train. Went to a Clippers G League tryout, which I did really, really well. You get to play 2 games, and you gotta ball out at those things. And so,
Right.
first game I did great. At the time, the late Sean Rooks was my coach, and I knew him from a gym that I used to work out at. And so he was giving me the ball and putting me in situations to look great. He's like, go. The second game, he said, hey, they want to see you run the pick and roll a little more, and they want to see you pick up 94 feet. I'm like, I
Right.
can do those two things. If anything, I can do those two things. Picking up 94 feet against potential pros is it takes a different level of cardio. I
Yeah.
was gassed within like 5 minutes, and I just played terrible because I had no more gas. And it was a like, oh, this is how real it is. This is how much more in shape I got to be. And that was the last like official tryout I did, and opportunity to go play pro. And then from there, I was doing random jobs. I would help Impact Basketball. I was a front desk guy at a gym at 360 Health Club. I would help them rebound and do stuff like that. And I had a couple kids I trained on the side as side hustle money, and I was just finishing school at that point. And then what happened? I was actually trying to go into the financial industry. I was getting serious about life. I found the woman who's now my wife, and I was like, oh, I gotta have a real job. So I started working
Right.
in the financial industry and wanted to be a financial advisor. I failed the test that it takes to become a financial advisor in that process, and I was like, lost my job. I was hired as an intern, paid intern. I had to pass that test, was how I got a full-time job. Failed that test, and just had got married. And so I had to figure things out. And I'm like, all right, I'm training these kids. Let me just train more. And they just kept saying yes to more training. And I'm like, hey, do you guys have any other kids that want to train?
Right.
And four clients turned to 20, 20 turned to 40, 40 turned to 60 by the summer. In 8 months, I was making really good money training basketball. And I was like, well, I think I found my thing. And just took off from there. And
That's really
yeah.
cool, and it's kind of like you use that opportunity, that setback, that your original plans and thoughts were, I'm gonna be, I guess first I'm gonna be a professional basketball player, and then it's like, well, I got to get a little more realistic, got to be a financial advisor, and then right, that actually ended up leading to this opportunity to train athletes, and so let's talk about that journey. I know Core Prep Academy and the basketball firm, they're kind of two different entities. They have two different missions, so can I hear kind of I'm sure there's some through line philosophy within both that are core to you. So I'd love to hear kind of some of that through line philosophy.
Absolutely. Core Prep Academy is a school. It's a school function, right? Like it is, we supplement the PE class for sports specific training. So it started off with basketball in 2015, and then it grew to multiple sports over the last 10 years. And so we're partnered at private schools currently who house our program inside of their school, essentially. Like the kids are students of the school, of the actual school, but they're a part of our program. And we're able to give high level, training to our kids. Every sport has a coach who, play collegiately and train or develop players at a very high level. And so these kids are leaving middle school ready for high school. And from how practice functions to the strength and conditioning to the financial literacy and community service. It's a holistic program where we're really developing a student athlete as a leader and as a high level player. And so we've tried to get better and better every year. It started with Johnny Juzang, which is cool. He's now
Yep.
in the NBA for the Utah Jazz, and he was our first kid in the program. And so we've been able to build from everything that he's done, and have other high level players follow suit into the program, and we just continue to grow. And so from all those years of having 500 plus kids in that program, the basketball firm was birthed because I after they leave middle school, oh, what am I doing for high school? What do I do for AAU? I need help with college. They have the next steps need to be covered. And I was always there, willing to give advice for free. I'm like, and then families outside of core started hitting me up asking,
Right.
hey, what high school should I go to? And I'm like, oh, this is a business. Like the information of how to navigate sports is a business. So I tie that in with personal development. I'm huge on personal development. And I believe if kids understand how to develop themselves, their character, or a skill that's outside of their sport, then they'll be able to grow in their sport even more. And so the basketball firm right now is just a course, it's a player development course, how to become a recruitable college athlete, where we take them through creating an identity for themselves, creating a role within their sport, and getting rid of all of the things that are distractions in their lives and building good habits and building out their schedule is like whatever goal you want, there's an action that's related to that that you have to put in place in your life to go and reach that goal. It's not just going to happen. You got to go and get it. And so we give them the blueprint for that inside of that. And there's more to come. We just added Jeff Dunlap to our team, which is longtime Division I coach, the father of Brady Dunlap. He's doing film analysis now. We're adding that to the fold. We have other coaches who are coming in, adding how to be a coach. And so it's going to be a place for I'm gonna call it personal development as a basketball person. So it could be for the athlete, for the coach, for the trainer. We'll have a trainer's course. How I built we're a six-figure business being a trainer. Those types of things. We're just giving out information to help.
No, I love that. And we share a lot of similarities and philosophies on how we want to develop players. I'm big on personal development within the program as well, right? Teaching leadership. We have our core leadership principles we teach. And so before we kind of talk kind of programming and developing leadership, you kind of alluded to kind of the need for an understanding of what is youth basketball like, right? How do I navigate finding a high school, a club program that helps me develop? Am I good enough to maybe play on an EYBL team or a circuit team to get exposed? So can we talk a little bit about where we are at in the youth basketball landscape and all the things the parents and even the coaches can help the parents with navigate?
Absolutely. It depends on where you're at, right? If you're starting in elementary school, middle school, and high school. So I break those three things up because it's different. There's
Right.
levels to this, right? And then, so elementary is all about development, getting the right coaching, understanding the game, getting your skill work up, learning to shoot the proper way. I actually have a book that's coming out that's covering these things. Um, it goes in line with the courses that we created, but on the elementary side, it's about falling in love with the game and understanding the skill work and what it takes to take it to the next level. Once you get to middle school, especially in Southern California, it might be different in other places, but basketball becomes serious. So now it's about where am I able to develop and move myself through the ranks to put myself in a position to play for a higher level club team? Or, am I just a regional player right now? Am I a national player? Navigating that, once again, it all comes to where you're developing it. In American basketball right now is such a focus on, playing in tournaments. Practice 2 times a week, playing tournaments. Your individual trainer. We miss a piece where the development of like the 3-on-3 game is super important, where you're playing in situations where you're having to make a decision
Yep.
like every single time you're on the court. When there's 5 people on the court, it's easy for one person to dribble, 4 people to stand around. You have to put them in situations where they have to make a decision. There's movement because somebody is attacking. You have to go to make the help side, make a read. All those kinds of things is what we're missing. And so I make sure that parents understand that and know that, hey, your kid needs, yeah, they can do their private training. There's definitely a place for individual skill development so you can work in your game. There has to be a place for this, short-sighted game, 3-on-3, where you're making decisions and you're allowed to make mistakes, but somebody's correcting those mistakes and you're learning. And then playing. That'll never go away. 5-on-5 is the best basketball. I
Yep.
don't care what anybody says. Just hooping is what it's all about. Having fun and having freedom out there, but also having freedom inside the framework of what basketball is and the IQ of the game. And so that's important in middle school to me, is having all three of those. And then the high school is finding the best situation for you to get better. Where are you going to be counted on, held accountable, being able to play through mistakes, but also getting very well coached as well. And I break down high school from 5 different standpoints, right? You want the basketball, what that looks like, right? We're just talking about basketball, the academics. It's not about having the highest academics, it's having the academics that are best for you to put you in a position to make scholarship money when you go to school. So if you're not like a crazy high academic person, don't go to the crazy high academic place. Go to where you fit
Yeah.
in and you can be great at that school academically. A lot of people don't know this is that when colleges look at students, they're comparing students, they compare you to your peers at your school. So when you go to a high academic school, and even though you may have a 4.0 GPA, but if your peers have 4.8s, you're probably not getting into the same schools they're applying to. Because against your peers, you have a lower GPA. And so you want to go in a place where you have your, at the top level of your peers. And then the environment, right? Some people like parochial schools and religious schools. Some people like public schools. What does that environment look like, and how does that help you become the best version of yourself? The safety of the school is important nowadays, just with the unfortunate events that we have in America, and you got to have the safety there. And then it's about the community and the culture and the resources, is what I call it, the resources of the school. Are you able to go in the gym before school and shoot? Is there alumni to help you figure out what you want to do after school, get an internship? Are there clubs and stuff that spark other interests? All these resources are important so you can have a well-rounded high school career to prepare you for college. And so those are kind of like where I direct parents through these processes, is like, hey, development at all levels. Middle school, are you getting the full package of development? Are you just being this great one-on-one player? And in high school, the overall environment to put you in the best situation to be a college basketball player. And so, and then talking about, you brought up EYBL and playing on those high level teams, they're going to go find you. If you're good enough,
Right.
they're going to come find you. Um, I'm sure you do it too. Like, us as trainers and coaches, we are going to let these coaches know that you exist, and like, hey man, you might want to consider this kid. That's our job as trainers, but also it's their job to go get the best kids in the area. They're going to come and
Right.
find you. So stay your butt in the gym, get in the right place, go to the tryouts and try out. AAU is about being in the best place where you're on the court a lot, and there are coaches at your level there to see you. That's what AAU basketball is about. Don't go on the top team to go sit on the bench. That's not it. Go to where you're going to play. And if you're a college basketball player, no matter what level you're at, the coaches will come and find you. And you can end up like Derek White, D2, gets to D1 his senior year. Now he's in the NBA. He outplayed the level that he was recruited to. If you're that good, that's what's going to happen for you. And so kids just got to, and parents have to understand that it's okay if your kid's not on a EYBL or a,
Right.
3SSB team. It's okay. Let them play at their level and get recruited by the coaches who are going to fall in love with them for who they are.
100%. No, there's a couple of through lines I kind of hear in there. Number one is development, development, development. That's kind of what we've been priding ourselves on. Is that's what it's all about. It's not about accumulating as many championships as you can in AAU. What program is going to help you develop you into the best basketball player in person that you can be? And number two, kind of talking about best for you. So having that self-awareness and kind of understanding what is best for you instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses, quote unquote, in the youth basketball world.
100%. That's it. If parents can shift their focus about what other people are doing and what their social media looks like and all these things, and just focus on their kid being the best version of themselves, putting them in situations where they're gaining confidence, but being held accountable, um, you would see you'll see two things. One, you see a lot of kids not play basketball anymore because they're doing it for their parents. And but two, you'll see the ones who are committed to it have a joy about this game and not be stressed about the process, and not have to make a lot of decisions that these parents are having to make, because it's going to happen for them because they're doing it the right way.
100%. And I'd love to kind of just follow up on that, even for a coach's perspective. What are some ways that us as coaches can really help them develop into their best selves? And I think this may be getting into the personal development side of our conversation, but I just feel like I see and I get an opportunity to work with a lot of other coaches who sometimes can put too much pressure on an athlete in a way that's not always the most healthy.
Yeah, I think it comes down to being transactional and relational most of the
Yep.
time, is that you have to have a relationship with the human
Yep.
first, not the basketball
Yep.
player. I think we as coaches, of course, listen, if I see a tall kid in the barbershop, I'm definitely going to ask who that kid is. Like, hey, who is that kid?
Yeah.
Who's he
Yeah.
training with? I'm 100%. That's what's going to attract me to a kid, like the athletic side of the game, right? But also, once I do that, I know that I'm giving them more than just basketball. And we're talking about the development of their character. Are they focused in school? How you do anything is how you do everything. What else are they working hard at? How are you holding them accountable at home? And are they asking you to work out or are you asking them to work out? Where's their self motivation to do these things? And so teaching them how to do that as a coach, as a trainer, as a developer, whatever you want to call yourself, you are a teacher. And I think a lot of people do not know how to teach. They know how to show, they know how to demonstrate. They do not know how to teach a kid how to do something. And that's what's most important. If you can learn how to teach, go take a course on teaching. Like they're free online on YouTube. Go listen to your best instructor. Go listen to podcasts where somebody's explaining something that you don't know about and how they break it down to the level of your understanding. That's what this game is about. When you're a coach, you're the ultimate teacher. And so that's what I emphasize with the coaches that I work with is slow down and teach. You're asking them to do something they don't even understand that they don't know how to understand to do yet. And so show them that. And so I think that's for the coaches is be a teacher in everything in life. How they carry themselves, how they walk into the gym, how they work when they get to the gym, how they treat their parents, how they treat their siblings. All those little things build up and matter at the end of the day. And so I think that's the biggest advice.
100%. And I just double checked. So Doug Lemov has is a great resource. He talks about teaching for coaches, and I know that's something that's helped me quite a bit as well. But for those that are listening right now, what are some crash course tips on teaching just life skills? I don't even we could talk about the basketball and how to shoot a jump shot like Curry, whatever. But what's more important for these kids is like, how do we really teach them how to become their best selves?
Yeah. I always like to start off with the quote, nobody cares how much you know until they know how
Yep.
much you care. And so connecting with them on a personal level so they understand that you're in their corner regardless of the sport and getting to know them, what's their family life is like, what things do they struggle with, what's their confidence. Brett Ledbetter is probably the best at it. And that I've experienced. He has What Drives Winning. He has a whole
Mm.
course. He has a couple books where they're talking about you are more important than the athlete, right? And talking to themselves. And what they do is they break it up into moral and performance skills, right? And there's these character development pieces inside of that. Is like, how do you want to be seen as a basketball player? Now let's focus on those things. And how do we take distractions away? The Yeah, I 100% recommend What Drives Winning to every kid and parent because he works with some of the top athletes and he speaks to the top universities teams on how to make sure that they understand their character is more important than who they are. Um, and that will get you teaching, I think. Like once you start focusing on the parts of a person that aren't the sport, you'll learn how to teach because you should know as a coach what made you a better person and what got you to where you're at. Just use your example, right? It's like our testimony is going to bring people closer to what they need to become because they want to hear your story. They connect with you in a certain way. And then when talking about teaching, it's about how you communicate whatever you're trying to teach to whoever you're trying to teach. I can have a room full of a first grader and a 12th grader. How am I going to communicate the same thing to them? I have to give different examples. I have to see what video games they play or what TV shows they watch to connect to whatever they're doing. It is the craziest thing. Some of these anime, they love anime. And so I only know Dragon Ball Z. And so when I like, hey man, I need you to go Super Saiyan on defense. I need you to stop playing like you're just regular Goku. They get that. That clicks with them. Oh, you want me to play hard and intense and crazy? Yes. That's what I need on defense. I need that energy. And so finding those little things that they're connected with in their social lives and bringing them out to connect it to the sport and making it relatable through stories and journeys that you've been through. Um, I've seen the best outcome from those situations.
Yeah, I really like that last example you gave because it connects with them. They understand those characters that are a part of that story, whether the story is probably what they potentially what they watch on TikTok or what they watch on Netflix, right?
Right.
But it's connected to their life. They're internalized it and they understand kind of they made meaning out of something, and it shows that the coach knows, that okay, he knows that I like Dragon Ball Z or whatever, kind of the show or the reference is. And that's a big thing is right. Connection first. And I love that quote. That's one of my favorite quotes as well. So kind of talking about the storytelling aspect of it. I something I think I want to get better at as a coach. Do you have any kind of thoughts on how you've developed your ability to tell stories and connect with kids over the years?
Yeah, mostly I just use my personal situations
Yeah.
of how I was one of the hardest workers with no direction. And it led me to where I'm at today, which is great. Like I'm able to mentor kids, but if I just had direction or I listened to the right people, the trajectory of my career would have went a total different direction. And uh, that usually connects with kids because some of these kids have NBA players as fathers and they don't want to listen to them. Like, no, you need to listen to that guy who played 12 years in the NBA. Like, I know he's
Right.
your dad, but there's some parts of this you gotta eat the fish and spit out the bones. Like, you got to know what to take and use, and then anything else that doesn't help you, spit out the rest. Um, I'm getting better at the storytelling aspect of my life, just in general. Just having a podcast, and I'm great at telling other people's stories. And I'm like, man, I need to tell my story more. Like that's why I was so excited about even doing this podcast. Like, oh, an opportunity for me to practice this, to talk about my journey and try to relate it and give some golden nuggets to some people that may hear it in a different way. And so yeah, I use that and my experience with NBA players, just training NBA players over the
Yeah.
years. Kids just lock into that. Say, oh, hey, when I worked out with LeBron James, they're like, wait, what? Yeah, you're going
Yeah.
to listen to that. And so, once again, things that connect with them, things that are, um, just going to gauge or grab their interest.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
I think probably I'm sure part of it is being vulnerable, kind of like you're talking about, like, hey, when I was your age, right? I wish I had someone kind of guiding me in this way. And then if I do have an MBA or WNBA parent, then yeah, you should probably listen to them. You can filter some stuff out. Maybe they're giving you some thoughts on your math class and they didn't ace their math class, whatever it is, right?
Right.
Maybe that's what you filter out. But if they're talking to you about basketball and they made it to the highest level, it might be something you might want to tune into if it's something you care about, right? Which again, I think kind of is what you've been talking about is like know your athletes, right? Know if they really care about basketball or really care about baseball or whatever it is, because I have seen, and I'm sure you've seen it, right? Kids burn out so much because of the pressure cooker that they're put in this
Yeah.
youth sports environment.
Yeah. No, it feels like parents are trying to like get them to this pinnacle that it is very, 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 very hard to get to. Like you're more likely to get struck by lightning than to get to the NBA or any professional league. Like it literally is. And so, what's the real goal? Parents have to take a step back and remember who they were as kids. And a lot of parents, like where we live at least, they're successful in their careers and in their lives. That's what you want to get to is making sure they have the success principles they need, no matter what they do, whether it's the sport or not, to work hard and understand how they get to where you are as a parent. Not them, oh, my kid's D1 and because I pay all this money for training and all these things, like all the resources in the world can't change a kid's heart. A kid's heart has to be in it. That comes from your love, that comes from your guidance, that comes from the people that you put them around. And so your resources can only take you so far when it comes to this game of basketball or any sport in general. And so what really matters is how you develop them as a human, as a person. And the pressure should be for them to be the best version of themselves. Don't compare them to their teammates. Don't compare them to the number one player in the country. Have them look in the mirror and say, am I being the best me today? And that's how most people have become successful in this life is that they've maximized who they were and had confidence in it because they know who they are.
No, I really love that, and that's going to connect with me and stick with me in terms of that point. Is like I haven't, I've kind of thought about it in certain ways, but like it doesn't matter the number of resources that you have, right? If the kid has to want it in their heart, and so I'm definitely gonna keep that one and stick to that one. I'm sure there's some people out there listening that are like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I see, you know, and a lot of times it comes from a good place, right? They just want their kids to be successful, and they know that, when in third grade they loved basketball, right? So they still kind of see this vision that, oh, you still love basketball, it's just a phase. But kind of just building upon that, I think it's just really important even for the coaches to be tapped into, what they love. Like I have this one athlete right now who he really he loves basketball, but he's also been really getting into photography, so he hasn't been coming to as many training sessions. Actually, it's funny enough, he goes and takes pictures at St. Monica football games, and he's loving it. But like, from part of me as a coach is like, maybe he's going to be the next great photographer, and
Yes.
so that's something like, it's okay if you miss a couple of training sessions, if I help you kind of inspire or encourage you to go take on other things besides basketball that you love.
My goal and job is to show you how to work hard at something and do it smart. Sometimes we work hard with no direction and we're building a habit of working hard with no direction, and that can lead us to a, you know, if you're in a boat and you go off 1 degree and you're going a long distance, you'll end up thousands of miles away from
Right.
where you're supposed to be. And so I think that work ethic and then having goals set for that work ethic is super important when you get a little older. Middle school, not so much. Like, let kids explore. Let them figure
Right.
out what they want. I'm huge on doing multi sports in middle school, even early in
Yep.
high school,
Yep.
and experiencing, see what they're good at. I wish I ran track. Like, I'm still fast. I wish I ran track. I might be an
Right.
Olympian. Like, I just don't know
Right.
though, because I didn't try anything else. And so I'm huge on the kids really figuring out if they're in love with basketball. Like, I know you like playing. I know it's fun with your friends, but are you really ready for the grind of a high school season? Like, it's a grind. Practice 6 days a week or practice or game 6 days a week. You
Yep.
only get Sundays off, and you're probably being yelled at every single one of those days by somebody who you're supposed to trust.
Yep.
And then you might sit on the bench and your teammates might get on your nerves and you're going to lose games. You're going to win games. You're going to go through all these emotions. Are you really down for that for the next 4 years of your life? You may not be. Where something with photography, you're going to still go through ups and downs. The physical toll is not as much.
Right.
The so are you really ready for that?
Right. And at this age, right, where they have a lot of free time and they don't have to pay the bills, right? They're able to love both, right? They're able to give
Yes.
their energy into both. And so let's let them explore that. Don't just be like, hey, it's Friday night. We got the gym's open. Why aren't you here? Right. It's like, it's okay. Go take those pictures on
Yeah.
football. Just, you know, kind of let them kind of explore. And so, kind of, I'd love for you. I feel like we're talking a lot about like kind of that self awareness aspect. I'd love for you to kind of, share a little bit of how else you help these athletes and young people just figure out who they are.
Yeah, so for me, it starts with their identity.
Yep.
I use my faith as an example. Once again, it's just, my faith in Christ is just anchored me and taken me through a lot of situations. And I just tell them the testimonies, the things that I've been through where God was there for me and delivered me or sent me in a direction I had no idea. Like, core was a dream. Like, I fasted and prayed in 2012 and I wrote down everything core is without calling it core before it even happened, when I wasn't even looking to do anything. I was trying to be a financial person, and it it happened. It's like, oh, God gave me this vision and I didn't even know where this vision was going to lead, and now boom, I've impacted over 500 families. Like, amazing. And so I think in being anchored in something that's bigger than ourselves, right? And for me, that's been Christ. um, Finding that identity and understanding what that means, being a citizen of the kingdom of God, comes with a lot of favor and a lot of different things. So that's just my personal one. When I take a kid teaching them those principles, biblical principles. There's a lot of different ways to say them and implement them into people's lives. And so that's what I focus on is, hey, you know, what is perseverance? That means that this is going to be really hard at first. You're going to have to get through the tough part of this training to get good. You're going to miss a lot of shots when we're fixing your form. You're going to lose the ball a lot when you're doing ball handling. But at the end, there's glory at the end of this. And so using those little principles, I guess the fruit of the spirit, right? Having joy in playing, um, and I don't know, just a bunch of those things, and making it exciting, making it a journey, making it fun to be challenged is my biggest thing. Is like when you are facing adversity is when you build the most character. And so let's put ourselves in the face of adversity, controlled adversity, so you can build that character in this safe place while you're young. Because once you get to high school, coaches don't care anymore. We got to win games. I mean,
Yep.
some coaches develop still. They're still into developing you as a whole holistic person, but they can do that with you sitting on the end of the bench as well.
Yep.
We don't need you to play with that. And so, and then when you get to college, it's really cutthroat, especially in this day and age where we go into the transfer portal and just go get another kid. And so you have to be ready for that adversity you're going to face when a coach is screaming and yelling at you because he expects more out of you. And what you do, how you respond to that. How do I respond to not playing? Do I mope and complain and talk about transferring? Or do I just, after the game, I go to the gym and get an hour of work in? Do I wake up early and do some extra sprints? What am I doing to respond to this thing that happened to me as I take, most people take as negative or bad? And how do I make it good? Make it push you to that next level to achieve the goals that you set out to do. And so, I think I answered your question.
No,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, no, talking about perseverance and how do you
Yeah.
respond? That's one of the best things that sports teaches you, and can you can take way beyond the game is just how do you face adversity, and at the end of the day, right? Basketball or any sport, it's not saving lives, right? It's just a game, but it's such an important aspect to teach those lessons of how are you going to respond, because there's, especially once you get to high school, and here in Los Angeles, and honestly a lot of places in America, it's if you choose to pout after a bad game, and you got someone coming, whether they're on JV or they're at the end of the bench on varsity, someone else wants to take your spot. So they're happy if you want to pout and take your
Right.
spot. So it's just like really building those character skills through different trainings. So that those are the life lessons and the teaching points that are so important for us coaches to hit on. So talking about that adversity and being able to respond, can you kind of share some different parts of your program that you kind of design to help them go through challenges to then, and then teaching them how to respond, kind of a quick crash course on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing is just your schedule, right? We build it into your life. Like I said, we want to have intentional adversity, right? Controlled adversity. And so if your goal is to make varsity as a freshman, what do we have to do for your eighth grade year to do that? And so we put that into your schedule. No matter what happens the day before, how bad a game was, what a coach did, we're waking up at 6 a.m. and we're doing your skills training. We're doing your strength training in the afternoon. We're getting coming back and getting shots up. We're foam rolling and stretching. We're doing whatever our daily vitamins are that are going to push us towards our goal, regardless of what happened the day before. And so if we have greatness scheduled into our day, we will be great. We can't avoid it. And then getting rid of or taking personal responsibility for everything. This is something that we need as adults. Not blaming others for the position that we're in is so bad in the sports world, but in life in general. Oh, the coach didn't let me. It's the coach's fault. No, it's your fault. You didn't do what the coach wanted you to do to get on the court. So, how do I take personal responsibility for everything that happens to me? And then, how do I assess that and turn that into an action that I can make that situation go away eventually? And so, we just take away, no, hey, all right, yeah, the coach messed up, but what did you do wrong? Where was your mistake? And if you can't find a mistake in something that is, um, you know, miscommunication or something that there's conflict in, then you need to self-reflect a little harder. You need to remove some pride and find where you could have done better so you can continue to improve. We've never arrived. We're supposed to be getting better and better every single day. And so I love Tyrese Maxey's mindset. He's like 1% better every day. And I've literally seen him over COVID while he's doing his pre-draft get better 1% every single day. He showed up on time every single day, worked his butt off to the day he had his pro day on ESPN in front of a bunch of people. He got up at 6 a.m. and still did his morning workout. Like when everybody was saying, "Oh no, we'll take the morning off so you can be," no, he's like, "No, I do 6 a.m. That's how I get ready." And you see it now in
Yep. He's a
Max
go.
Dill, one of the top point guards in the league. Like he's doing his thing. And so getting 1% better every day. What are you doing to make no excuses to why someone isn't doing something that you want? You're in total control of that. And parents have to put that control into the kids' hands at an earlier age, in that middle school age. Let them advocate for themselves. You should never be talking to the coach about playing time. If you trust that coach, you put him in that program, you're paying a fee, get out of the way. You've done your part. Let the kid handle that adversity. If the kid's being abused or mistreated, whole different story. You step in right away. But if it's a lesson, him sitting on a bench because he's not playing hard defense, and you're like, oh, the other kid's not playing hard. Stop. Your kid's not playing hard defense. They have to step up and do that thing. And so personal responsibility is it's probably those two. I don't know if I do anything else
Yeah.
besides I'm always introducing something new to the kids. Like my training is very systematic, but it's very free flowing at the same time. If
Yep.
I see a kid pick up a skill, like, okay, they're doing this 90% of the time correct, I'm throwing in a wrench. I'm throwing
Yep.
in something that's, oh, okay, here's the next progression. I have a kid I've been working with since he was 11. It's hilarious. And every week he's getting ready to go to high school. And, he's in eighth grade now. And every week I have one special training session for him where I kick his butt. And he's like, man, like, why are we doing this? I'm like, this is the next level. Like, I want you to think I work with NBA players, man. You're 14 years old.
Right.
I'm always going to add something else that's just a level up from what you think you got good at. No, I'm
Yep.
gonna keep on pushing you. I do that for myself. Like, yes, I've had success with my business. I've had success training athletes. I'm still not done. Like, I want to get to that next level where I'm impacting more people and spreading more knowledge and, just being great. And so I expect that from myself. So I have to expect that from my kids. I'm gonna put you in uncomfortable situations during our training that are going to test your character. I'm not worried about your skill set. We can learn how to do a skill, but how do you respond when I'm telling you to add more balance to your jump shot? Like, how are you going to respond and you're going to miss 7 shots in a row? How are you mentally going to respond to that? And so I'm always looking for those opportunities just when I'm working with somebody personally.
And I feel like that's the mindset shift that if they take that with them for the rest of their life, doesn't matter what they're gonna do. They're
Yes.
gonna be successful, right? Taking that responsibility and wanting to get 1% better every single day. And that's one of the things I talk about. I sometimes fall into a rut where I go 2 or 3 weeks and I wake up, I'm like, I don't know if I got really bad. I
Yes.
need to, I got to wake up. I don't think I'm
Yeah.
living my, so like we're not perfect either as coaches, but as long as we
Yeah.
can realize that and be like, all right, well, it's time to get back on the track. Because I just had that where I was like last week, I'm like, I need to be on them a little bit more on holding the standard of communication and making sure, like, with our culture, you got to dap up every single person when they come in the room. Doesn't matter if you don't really know them at all. It's a community, and
Yes.
that's a way of you're getting in the habit of being able to shake someone's hand first. So it's all those little things that I just had to wake myself up and be like, whoa. I wasn't holding them to high standard. I wasn't even holding myself to that high standard. And
Yeah.
that's where it comes first. But it's my responsibility. It's my program. I built it, right? And so if I'm not going to hold them to the standards, they're definitely not going to hold themselves to those standards. So I really like that. I really like the taking responsibility, and I think that's incredibly important. So, like, as far as final pieces of advice for the coaches that are listening to this episode, I would love to hear that. And then also, if you can drop, I know you got podcasts, you got a great Instagram page, any other resources that you have for the coaches. I know you're cooking up the book and the courses. So all that, please drop it for them. I'll selfishly want to indulge as well.
No, absolutely. Just for the coaches, I think I said it earlier, is be a teacher, and never stop learning. You've never arrived as a coach and a trainer. I literally go to, um, small AAU programs and go in the gym and try to learn something. And I go to UCLA basketball practice and try to learn something. And, um, always trying to just take away something. I want to get 1% better mentally. I want to gain some piece of knowledge daily that's going to help impact my life and also something I can share to impact somebody else's life. And so, and I want to say that this is it's a marathon. There's a lot of people who want to be NBA trainers or get to a high level of coaching. Pay your dues. Paying your dues means always be in a position to learn. I think that's what it comes down to. Like, learn how to clean the floor the right way, learn how to carry somebody's bags. It starts off with those things, and don't stop doing those things either. Always have that servant attitude as a leader, and always have a mentor is the best way to say it. You shouldn't be at the top of your food chain. There should always be somebody you're looking up to and asking questions to, because it's a as you grow. Once you don't have a mentor, you're probably not growing. You're probably being very, very stagnant. So, as far as resources, so we have the basketball firm right now. It's just for parents and kids who want to develop a recruitable college athlete, our basketball player specifically. Um, we have Elevate Your Game podcast, so we drop an episode every Monday. We're on like episode 70 or something like that. Crazy, kind of flew
Good
by.
stuff.
We just actually did a rebrand, just with um, we started it as a hobby. Like, oh, this would be cool if we did this, and it turned to cook. Like, it's always cool, man. Matt Barnes reached out to me to do my podcast. Like, why? Like, no way.
That's
Like,
cool.
yo, Todd, I love what you're doing. I'd love to be on your podcast, bro. What? I
That's
saved that
awesome.
message. I have it in my phone. Like, I'm doing something right. And I was like in the very beginning, it was like my fifth episode. And so it's grown into more than just basketball. It started off just kind of talking basketball and little points here and there. The goal has always been to give information that people think is hidden inside this basketball world. It is on our
Like that.
podcast. Like, go find an episode and you'll find jewels of how to be recruited, how college coaches think, how high school coaches think, what trainers do, and how the AAU world is navigated. It's all on the podcast on one of those episodes. And so that's the goal of that, is to give the people the knowledge that they don't have access to if they don't know a me or a you, right? We live in this world, so we know it. But if you don't have
Right.
direct access to it, then you wouldn't. The other thing we have is the Hoop Hotline. We haven't really marketed it or anything yet, but it's out there. For $14 a month, you get full access to me by text message. So any
Okay.
questions you have about anything basketball, you can come and ask me. I'm an open book when it comes to this. Just a way to keep you, engaged and have your questions answered. It's mostly for parents and for kids who don't know how to navigate this world. My biggest thing growing up is I didn't have anybody help me navigate this. And so there's a
Yep.
lot of opportunities I missed, a D2 scholarship offer I didn't sign, like crazy stuff. And so I want to make sure that you have at least somebody in your corner giving you information. And $14 a month, you spend more than that on the shoes that you buy every month, or
Yep.
movies, or whatever it is, for valuable information that can help direct your life. And so, and then my Instagram page, all my socials are Todd Has a Plan. My last name isn't Has a Plan. I've heard that before. Like, is that your last name? Like, no,
That's
Todd Has
funny.
a Plan is that. And we'll be coming out with more content on the basketball firm for coaches, for trainers, just people in the basketball world to kind of help lead and direct wherever you want to go with it. The book is finishing up the editing, and so it is the blueprint guide to become a recruitable college basketball player. It's kind of the same thing. Um, as the course, but it's just on paper, and it's like kind of a reference guide. We're doing like a basketball for dummies kind of thing, or it's a
Yeah.
reference guide. It's like, hey, I'm in AAU. What should I be looking for? And it gives the different levels of AAU, what you should be looking for in the coaching. And then we have a directory that we've put together and will be released in November to, like, it's a Southern California basketball directory. So we have almost every single club team posted. We have every high school with their basketball coach, We have a lot of trainers still trying to get more. I mean, there's like 7,000 trainers out here. So we have a lot of trainers on there, strength and conditioning, nutritionists that all work with basketball players. And so we have that prepared to be released in November, where you have a directory. So anything that you need in the basketball world in your area, you can search it and find some qualified people. Yeah, that's kind of it right now.
You just got a few things going on, right?
No, just a
Uh,
couple. I mean,
I greatly appreciate your time with everything that you do have going on, and I greatly appreciate, obviously, the impact you're having on so many different people. That's what it's all about. So, thank you for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom, Todd.
no, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend, coach, or parent you feel like would get value from this episode. It's our responsibility to impact as many parents and coaches who are the ones that are impacting our athletes. That's how we create a ripple effect. So thank you for being a part of our community, and we look forward to serving you all next week.